Us now with our next guest, Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu of California. He serves on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thank you for being here. First, do you believe, Giuliani, that Mueller actually gave him a deadline, September 1st, for wrapping up this investigation into obstruction?
I do not, Anna. I know that Rudy Giuliani makes stuff up and then he has to correct it later. It would surprise me if Robert Mueller could promise a date certain by which this investigation will conclude. This is a very complicated investigation with lots of open inquiries, so I don't think it would wrap up by September. And if we remember, the former White House attorney for Donald Trump also kept saying, oh, this investigation is going to keep wrapping up, and it still hasn't.
Does it make some sense, though, that he may have said this could wrap up by this deadline, perhaps, if you are willing to have the president come and talk with us?
It's possible, but it would also depend on what the president would say, because with every new investigation, it could open up new leads. I'm a former prosecutor, and it is nearly impossible to say when an investigation may or may not conclude because you're constantly looking at new evidence, and that could open up new avenues for inquiry.
Also important to note, according to the New York Times at least, and unclear when Dana talked to Giuliani, that this, again, was just pertaining to the obstruction of justice portion of Robert Mueller's probe, not necessarily the overall election meddling investigation into Russia and whether there was any sort of collusion or conspiracy with the Trump campaign. Is that an important distinction to you?
I'm glad you brought that up because the president's tweets today could suggest he wants to obstruct justice again. If he is trying to influence the federal investigation against him by saying we now need to investigate that investigation, depending on how he does it, that could be obstruction of justice. He needs to let the investigation against him proceed without any political interference.
Meantime, the president also saying he is going to officially make a demand tomorrow for the FBI to investigate the DOJ, or I guess the DOJ to investigate the DOJ regarding an alleged informant and whether that person was used for political purposes during the campaign. Does he have the power to demand this kind of investigation?
He could certainly ask, and I don't have a problem with that inquiry because it's going to show that the FBI started this operation as a counterintelligence operation. They were trying to protect the Trump campaign against Russia and influence by foreign power. And it turns out that it morphed into a criminal investigation because there were Trump campaign officials that engaged with the Russians in inappropriate ways. Two of them that the informant allegedly spoke to, George Papadopoulos and Michael Flynn, have already pled guilty.
So you actually welcome this kind of an investigation. You don't see it as a politically motivated investigation?
I think what the president wants to do is politically motivated, but I think it's very easy for the Department of Justice to simply respond back with a letter saying, yes, the FBI did have an informant because there was a counterintelligence operation to prevent Russian influence into election meddling. And I don't think it's that big a deal because it's very clear what happened here. Operation Crossfire Hurricane was a counterintelligence operation. No one disputes that the FBI had legitimate reasons to do that. And now we see that some people have pled guilty because of that investigation.
So you say the DOJ could respond that way. Do you think that's how they will respond?
They could either choose to ignore that request or they could respond quietly by simply writing a letter back to the White House saying, look, this was a counterintelligence investigation. We had legitimate reasons for doing this. And oh, by the way, two of your campaign officials already pled guilty because they acted inappropriately with the Russians.
What if the Department of Justice doesn't comply? What if they push back on this president? What do you think he'll do?
I've learned not to predict the President of the United States. I do know that what he has done this morning with his 6 or 7 tweets about the special counsel investigation shows to me that he is scared. I know that defendants, when they don't have the evidence, when they're scared, they put law enforcement on trial. That's what he's trying to do. And his smearing of the FBI and the Department of Justice is harming the nation, and it's just got to stop.
Congressman, are you confident the Obama administration did not order the FBI or Department of Justice to infiltrate or surveil the Trump campaign in 2016?
Well, this happened in 2016, so this would have been Obama officials and the FBI under the Obama administration. So yes, it happened during the Obama administration, but this was a counterintelligence operation to try to prevent influence from a foreign power. And you even see it running into 2017, where you had Sally Yates coming to the White House trying to protect the president and his administration from Michael Flynn, who was lying to FBI agents. So you see the Department of Justice started this out as an operation to protect the legitimacy of the administration and of the 2016 elections. It only morphed into a criminal investigation because they saw wrongdoing by officials of the Trump campaign.
What do you think set the president off today?
I think it was the stories he saw in the media reporting that there was a second meeting at Trump Tower between Donald Trump Jr. and some emissaries of foreign powers, including United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, suggesting that they wanted to help the Trump campaign in the 2016 elections. I think that's something that caused them to get mad.
Congressman Ted Lieu of California, thank you.